I welcome all of you for this session. In this session, we are going to learn about the frequency meters. So, the four types of frequency meters we are going to discuss has been shown on the screen. So, we can see the construction and working principle of each one. So, these are the four frequency meters we are going to see in this session. Number one is Western frequency meter. Second one, electrical resonance type frequency meter. Third one, mechanical resonance type frequency meter. So this is a well-known meter. The famous name for this is vibrating reed type frequency meter. This is the simplest one. And finally, we are going to discuss about the ratio meter type frequency meter. So these are the four meters we are going to discuss in this session. We can see one by one in detail. Okay, the first one is Western type frequency meter. So it works under the principle whenever the frequency of a measured signal varies, the distribution of current between the inductive and resistive circuit of meter changes. So this is a principle which has been followed in Western type frequency meter. So on the screen you can able to see the construction diagram of Western type frequency meter. So it consists of two coils, coil A and coil B, which has been placed perpendicular to each other. So to show the differences, both the coils has been given the different colors. And there will be a soft iron core over which a magnetic needle will be placed, and the soft iron core and magnetic needle will be placed exactly at the center of these two coils, coil A and coil B. And the other parts are, there are resistances for each coil. If you consider for coil A, RA is a resistance which has been connected in series with the coil A, and LA is inductance for the coil A, which has been connected with coil A in parallel. Similarly, LB is the inductance for coil B, which has been connected in series with coil B. I think you can able to see on the screen. And RB is the resistance which has been connected in parallel with coil B. So along with this, we have one more inductance named as L. So this inductance L is used to suppress the harmonic components in the circuit. So once the harmonics has been reduced, means the errors which are occurring in the meter also can be reduced. So that is the purpose of using another inductance L here. And one of the basic concept we have to keep it in mind throughout while reading the frequency meters, working of frequency meters is, whenever a current flows through a coil, a magnetic flux is produced in it. This is a basic concept you have to keep it in mind. I will repeat. Whenever a current flows through a coil, a magnetic flux is produced around it. Okay, with this concept we can move for working of the working of each frequency meters. So in this Western frequency meter, we are going to check whether the frequency is in normal value or lower value or higher value. How to see this? Case number one, if you consider the supply frequency is normal. If the supply frequency is normal, under this condition, if you switch on the supply, so for normal frequency, the current starts to flow inside the coil A and B. So due to the current, a perpendicular magnetic field is set up in the coils because of the current flowing inside. So the magnitude of the field depends on the current passes through the coils. So the magnetic field of both the coil A and coil B acts on the soft iron piece and the magnetic needle. So due to the magnetic attraction, the position of the needle depends upon the relative magnitude of magnetic field which is acting on coil A and B. So this is the working. Depending upon the magnetic field produced by coil A and B, the needle is going to move, either stand at 45 degree or either going to move either left or right. So in case number 1, when the supply of normal frequency is applied across the meter, the voltage drop of same magnitude occurs across the reactance LA and resistance RB. So this is the thing happen for normal frequency. The voltage drops across inductance LA and resistance RB will have the same magnitude. Hence, same equal current will flow through coil A and coil B. So if equal current has been flowing through coil A and coil B, equal magnetic field strength will be produced. So if both the magnetic field has been same equal means the needle will be pointing exactly at 45 degree, which we are terming as normal frequency. So the circuit is designed such that the voltage drops across LA, LB and RA, RB remains the same under normal frequency. So this is the case 1. Case number 2, suppose if we assume the frequency has been suddenly increased. So if the frequency has been increased, the reactance LA and LB of the coil increases, but the RA and RB remains the same. So this is the condition. Only the inductance is going to react depending upon the changes in frequency. So for higher frequencies, the inductances LA and LB of the coil increases. The resistances RA, RB is going to remain the same. Since the inductance increases, the impedance of coil A also increases. So this is the nature. Since the inductance of the coil A increases, the impedance of the coil A also increases. The nature of impedance is it will try to block the current. So due to this reason, more current will flow through coil B when compared to coil A. So due to the highest impedance in coil A, very less current flows through coil A and more current flows through coil B. So we have already discussed that the magnetic flux strength depends upon the amount of current flowing inside the coil. Here our condition is coil A receives less current and coil B receives more current. So the magnetic field produced by coil B will be stronger than coil A. So automatically the needle will be attracted towards the coil B. So the indicator will move towards the higher side, that is towards the left hand side. So this is the thing happening for higher frequencies. If it is a lower frequency, just the reverse of this happens. So during the lower frequency, coil B has the more impedance when compared to coil A. So current flowing through the coil B will be less when compared to coil A. So coil A produces stronger magnetic field when compared to coil B. So at this case, the needle automatically moves towards the right hand side, indicating the lower frequency. So by this way, we can able to measure the frequency whether it is in normal condition or higher position or lower frequency. So this is the working of Western frequency meter. Okay, next we can see the second type. So a second type is a mechanical resonance frequency meter. The other name for this is vibrating reed type frequency meter. It is a famous meter which has been used in power panels. So if you go for the electrical machines lab in the college, you can able to see it. It will be installed. since there will be a AC distribution panel available in electrical machines lab, so definitely you can able to view this meter. So this is a very simplest meter when compared to others. So you can see the construction. So on screen you can able to see the components which has been used. So there will be electromagnet which will be fed by the AC supply, whose frequency we have to measure. So nearer to the electromagnet there will be a steel strips, different steel strips with different natural frequencies. So each strip has different frequency, natural frequency of its own. So this steel reeds will has the tendency to vibrate depending upon the frequency of the supply. Okay, we can see in detail in the next diagram. You can able to realize working. So on this diagram you can able to see there is a coil, that is an input supply whose frequency has to be measured is in given, and there is a soft iron armature which is going to act as a magnet. So when the current passes through the coil, the armature will be attracted, and at the right hand side you can see different reeds, that is a steel strips, you can say is reeds, it is named as reeds. So those reeds of different natural frequencies. Each reed has its own frequency. When the both, so different frequencies, each reed carries different frequencies which has been supported on the bar. And in third diagram, that is in C, you can see the indicator dial. So the red color are the reeds with different readings at the top. You can see in this example, we have taken 60 Hertz as the input supply. So all the reeds, you can see it is vibrating. You can clearly note down that the 60 Hertz reed is vibrating more when compared to others. So this is the indication when the frequency of the input supply matches with the natural frequency of the reed, that particular reed alone will vibrate more when compared to others. So again you can able to see the diagram, third diagram named as indicator dial. The 60 Hertz reed is vibrating more when compared to other reeds. So by seeing the vibration, we can able to calculate measure the supply frequency. So this is the simplest one which will be used mostly in power panels. So you can see the next type. The next type is the electrical resonance type meter. So previously we have saw mechanical resonance type. Mechanical resonance means the vibrating natural frequency of the metal should coincide with supply frequency. So if both are equal means that particular reed will vibrate more. That is mechanical resonance. In this we are going to discuss the electrical resonance. So electrical resonance means we have only one condition. The inductive reactance and capacitive reactance in the circuit should be equal. If both are made equal means then we can able to attain the resonance condition. So with this concept we can see what is happening inside the electrical resonance type frequency meter. So you can able to see the diagram on the screen. So there is a two coils, one is fixed coil with lengthiest core, and second one is a moving coil which can able to move around. So one is fixed and second one is movable, and one capacitor is connected across the moving coil, and above the moving coil a pointer is attached to indicate the supply frequency range. So in this also we are going to check the value of frequency, whether it is lower or a normal frequency or higher frequency. So here also we have to keep the basic concept in mind. I just repeat, whenever a current passes through a coil, a magnetic flux will be produced, and that flux has the capability to establish around the magnetic core. So these words are important in this topic. Okay, we can move to the working of electrical resonance type frequency meter. So regarding the working, the fixed coil has been connected to the supply point. So when you switch on the supply, a current is going to flow through. A current is going to flow through the fixed coil. So this current, when flows through the coil, a magnetic flux has been produced around the coil, and this flux is going to establish around the core. You can watch on the diagram. The core of the fixed coil is larger when compared to moving coil. We can say it has a lengthiest core. So the magnetic flux which has been produced in the coil will be established around the core. And at the other end of the core, a movable coil will be placed. So the movable coil, we can say the coil as a conductor, and already in the core there is a flux. So according to Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, whenever a flux is cut by a coil, an EMF will be induced in the coil. So this is by nature of electromagnetic induction. Since it is a movable one, the flux has been cut by the moving coil. So in turn, an EMF, electromotive force, is induced in the moving coil. This electromotive force is lagging in nature when compared to the magnetic flux which has been produced in the core of fixed coil. So this is one thing. And second one, the EMF which has been induced in the moving coil in turn will create a current in the coil. So when now it will be acting as a current carrying conductor. So when a current carrying conductor is placed in a magnetic field, it experiences a force. So we can say it as a torque has been developed. So we can see how to find the torque equation here. So to find the torque equation, we are in need of some assumptions. Number one, you have to consider I1 as the current flowing inside the fixed coil, and I2 is the current flowing in the moving coil, which is also known as induced current of the moving coil, because the I2 has been produced due to induced EMF. And third assumption, the phase angle between the supply current I1 and the EMF induced in the moving coil is 90 degree. This is what I have said. The EMF induced in the moving coil is lagging the flux in the fixed coil by 90 degrees. So that has been mentioned here. The phase angle between the supply current I1 and EMF induced in the moving coil is 90 degree. And the fourth assumption, one more phase difference is there between induced EMF and current in moving coil, that is I2. We can take it as alpha. So the total phase difference between these two can be taken as, that is current I1 and I2, or we can say current in moving coil and current in fixed coil. The phase difference between these two currents can be taken as 90 minus alpha. So finally we can come to a conclusion. The expression of the torque can be given as, torque is directly proportional to I1 I2 cos of 90 minus alpha. So this is the torque equation. So with this equation we have to define where the resonance condition is occurring. So from the equation we can come to one more conclusion. When the phase difference alpha is 0 means the torque is 0. If the torque is 0 means there is no movement in moving coil. It means that the pointer will point at some point. It will be static. It will never move. So it is known as a resonance condition. So to attain the resonance condition, definitely there must be a inductive reactance and capacitive reactance. So going back to the diagram, we can see there is a coil which is going to act as a inductive reactance, and one capacitor is connected across the moving coil, so it is going to act as a capacitive reactance. So this circuit has an inductive reactance as well as the capacitive reactance. And what is need? Again, the inductive reactance of the moving coil depends upon the angular position of moving coil. So the inductive reactance is going to vary. Whenever the moving coil changes its position, the inductive reactance also is going to change, so which has been given by 2 pi FL. So this inductive reactance depends upon the angle which the moving coil is going to change. So suppose if you assume, if you switch on the supply, the current is going to enter the fixed coil, so it is going to act as a magnet. Again, due to the magnetic flux, the moving coil is also going to induce EMF. So due to that EMF, a current will flow through the moving coil. So due to the torque as well as the attractive force, the fixed coil is going to attract the moving coil towards it. So while moving, the inductive reactance of the moving coil is getting changed. So when the inductive reactance of the moving coil getting changes, at some particular point, the inductive reactance of the moving coil and capacitive reactance of the capacitor will be equal, which is known as a resonance condition. If this condition is attained, means there will not be any movement in the moving coil. So the pointer is going to stand particularly at some point. Suppose if you assume the supply frequency is normal, means it is going to indicate the normal frequency. So we can able to mark that point as normal frequency. Suppose the frequency has been suddenly increased, means again the fixed coil is going to attract the moving coil. So the moving coil is going to move. So while moving, again the resonance condition will be disturbed. So in turn, the inductive reactance of the coil changes. So again further moving, at again some other point, the inductive reactance and capacitive reactance will be made equal, and the pointer is going to make the standstill position. So consider it as higher frequency. If the pointer moves towards right side, means it indicates higher frequency, and due to some reasons, if frequency has been reduced, means the same thing is going to be repeated. The moving coil is going to move, the inductive reactance is going to get changed, since the current induced in this is getting changed, and again some other point, the inductive reactance and capacitive reactance will be equal. Again a resonance condition will occur, and the pointer is going to kept at standstill position. So assume the pointer has been moved towards the left hand side, indicating lower frequency. So by this way only we are going to measure the frequency of supply, whether it is lower frequency or at normal frequency or at higher frequency. So this is the method we are going to measure the frequency using the electrical resonance type. So from the name itself we can able to understand. So there must be a resonance conditions attained. So to attain the resonance condition, the inductive reactance and capacitive reactance of the circuit should be made equal. Okay, we can discuss the next type, which is known as a ratio type meter. Ratio meter type frequency meter. So this ratio meter type frequency meter consists of a ratio meter. How this ratio meter is going to work, that is a key point here. It is going to give us the relationship between the current ratios and the deflection. Again there will be a doubt, what is the current ratio? On the circuit you can able to see there are two bridges, two coils will be there. Both will be placed perpendicular to each other, and at the center a pointer will be placed fixed. the pointer will be connected, and we can able to see two rectifiers for each coil. So you can see. So only it has been given as the ratio meter gives a relationship between the current ratio. Current ratio means since we are having two separate circuits, so two currents will be flowing. So those ratios will be calculated and it will be compared with the deflection of the pointer. So this is the meaning for the ratio meter gives a relationship between the current ratio and the deflection. Okay, by seeing the diagram itself, we can say what is the construction of the ratio meter type frequency meter. So it has two full wave circuits, full wave bridge rectifier. So the first bridge rectifier is connected with a capacitor at the input side, and the second rectifier is connected with a resistor at the input side. So we can come to a conclusion. The current which has been entering in the full wave bridge rectifier, that the first rectifier can be taken as IC, since it is passing through across the capacitor. We can take it as a IC as the input current and I1 as the output current of the full wave rectifier 1. And another assumption we have to take that input current is equal to output current. So we can mark it as IC equal to I1. Similarly, in full wave bridge rectifier 2, the resistor has been connected at the input side, so we can take the input current as IR and output current as I2. Again, we have to make here the assumption IR is equal to I2. So that was given in the theory here. Now how to calculate the input current? So IC is taken as 2 pi FCV, where F stands for supply frequency, C stands for capacitance value, and V stands for the input supply voltage. So since we have assumed the output current of rectifier is proportional to its input current, so we can write directly I1 is proportional to IC, and IC already we have the values 2 pi FCV, we can substitute it. So I1 is proportional to 2 pi FCV. Similarly, for rectifier circuit 2, that is the second bridge rectifier, the input current is taken as IR. So as per the Ohm's law, V is equal to IR. From that we can able to calculate I is equal to V by R. Therefore, the output current is also proportional to V by R. So with this conclusion, we can directly write the equations. I2 is proportional to IR proportional to V by R. So we have got the two currents, we have to find the ratio between the two. So at the starting itself we have saw the ratio meter gives the relationship between the current ratio and deflection. Now we can calculate the current ratio and the second term deflection. So in ratio meter, the deflection angle is proportional to ratio of current of two coils. So this is the concept behind this meter. We can take the deflection angle as theta, which is directly proportional to the ratio of the two currents I1 and I2. So already we have framed the equations for I1 and I2, substituted. I1 is equal to 2 pi FCV and I2 is equal to V by R. If you substitute, and finally we will get theta, that is the deflection angle theta is directly proportional to 2 pi FCR. Here again in the circuit, if you see, the capacitor is also a fixed one, the resistance is also a fixed one, it is not a variable one. Both C and R are fixed ones, so we can treat it as a constant value. So the final equation, we can remove the C 2 pi CR. So at last we can come to a conclusion that deflection angle is directly proportional to the supply frequency in the circuit. So by this way, the ratio meter type in a frequency meter is going to indicate the supply frequency, and that can be noted from the scale. The pointer is going to point out the corresponding frequency which has been fed as the input supply frequency. So in all the meters, the basic concept is, except the vibrating reed type meter, as I have mentioned, in all the meters the basic concept is, whenever a current passes through a coil, a magnetic flux is produced around the coil. So this is the basic concept. If you keep this in mind, you can able to answer all the frequency meter operation clearly. So with this, I'll end up this session. We can meet in the another session. Thank you for all.